Across Texas and beyond, the future of conservation is being shaped by the people who manage the land, study the wildlife, and take responsibility for where our food comes from. At Conservation Frontlines, that mission comes to life through organizations like Broken Arrow Ranch, which sources wild game responsibly, the East Foundation, where science and stewardship guide wildlife management, and Frontier Chicago, where Chef Brian Jupiter introduces wild game to the table through modern culinary craft. Together, they form a conservation story, one that begins in the field and carries forward to the frontier of how we eat.
Broken Arrow Ranch was started in 1983 by my father, Mike Hughes. The reason it got started was he had seen this overpopulation of non-native deer and antelope that were introduced into Texas and were a little bit of a threat to the native wildlife, and there was a lot of concerns that these populations needed to be controlled. And at the same time, he saw that there were a lot of restaurants that didn't have access to domestic game sources. You know, it's kind of the original red meat, and we really didn't have any of those meat resources available here in the US. So he kind of put one and two together and started trying to figure out how he could go out and harvest these deer, do it in a way that would be inspected and safe and wholesome, as well as humane and stress-free on the animal, and then getting all of that nutritious, wholesome meat out to the restaurants and individuals.
Today we are on the East Foundation's El Sal's Ranch down in Willacy County, working with Broken Arrow. I'm Landon Schofield. I'm the range and wildlife biologist for the East Foundation. So our partnership with Broken Arrow is really unique. It offers us an opportunity to collect really important biological samples and data points. We're looking at a number of different genetic approaches, as well as just some baseline biological life history type questions like recruitment, survival, as well as aging studies. We're striving to ultimately in promoting that land stewardship so that we can all benefit from those things that we gain from the land, whether we live on it or not. We're all dependent on it in some way or another.
From research in the field to plates across the country, stewardship continues every step of the way. We love that our work here at Broken Arrow can support this type of animal research and conservation efforts. And speaking of plates, we're blessed to work with Michelin star restaurants that are around the country, and even great places like Frontier up in Chicago.
My name is Chef Brian Jupiter. I am the chef and owner of Frontier Restaurant, Anime Tavern, and Migos Fine Foods in Chicago, Illinois. Cooking wild game was actually new to me, and it's something that we took on because the concept is based off of living off the land, you know, and as we introduce more of wild game to our clientele, they wanted more. Conservation, from a chef's perspective, is an important role that we all take on. Normally we're the first vessel that is introducing these wild game proteins that really need our help. You know, you're creating some more popularity, you're creating more value, and something we like to call conservation through commerce. It allows my team to talk about these animals, which brings awareness and it brings more care to the general public for animals that we're not used to even worrying about. And so it's not just a dining experience here at Frontier, it is an experience of storytelling and is an experience of history on how the Americans originally ate. Dishes like these are proof that conservation and culture can sit on the same plate.